Well, before I went to China, I think the most knowledge I had about China was based on all the traditional Chinese things that are spread around the world, like the Chinese dragons, the Chinese traditional clothing style, all these traditional things. But what I was looking forward to before I went to China was finding out how their modern life works. So how do the students talk to each other? How do they look? How do they dress? What do they eat? All of those everyday things I had no idea about, and that's what I really was surprised by, that all these technological advancements that they also had. I had no idea about that, and that was the main things I discovered about China, everyday life basically.
My producer, she was great. First, when we came off the plane and they came to meet us, when I pulled out my phone and she saw that my phone screen was cracked. And the next day she came up to me with this screen protector, even though my screen was already cracked. But it was a really nice gesture from her. So, and also I couldn't eat a lot of the things because of my, let's say, stomach, and she also brought me breakfast, which was plain yogurt and regular white bread, and was amazing. I was so thankful to her.
I remember going outside in the evening to just walk on streets, especially in first week we were constantly taking pictures of everything. There was big mountains in front of our hotel, and I was constantly staring to those mountains and taking pictures. And because in Estonia the ground is really flat.
When I went to China, the most shocking thing was the size of the Shanghai city. When we came from the airport, we went to the city center, and I think we drove 2 hours, and the city didn't end, and they said it's never going to end.
I was in Shanghai, and my film was about an artist, a Chinese artist named Shen Yeshan, who taught us a little bit about art and his life philosophies.
So my film was about canned air. It's about air and basically that surrounds us, and how we should treat it, and how we should understand what do we need the most in our lives, because in that film we can see the true and beautiful nature that we have and capture it, and how people on all plans should treat it and understand what do we need to see what we cannot see actually.
I got the topic of the last kite master in Shanghai, who still makes kites by hand. So he's been studying that kite making technique for his whole life. That's how they do it there. There are masters and students, and all the students learn from their masters. So I met with Master Lee, who was the last kite master, and his student, and they basically told me everything about how it works, that they still want to keep the traditional culture alive, and that's basically what I based my movie on.
I was making a movie about Asian tea trees and transformation of tea trees. In the end, actually, I understood if whatever is your subject, you are still making a movie about people around or involved with this subject. So this movie is actually about people in this village and how tea trees are affecting their everyday lives. I remember the rain was just stopped, and I saw like thousands of insects just flying in the forest. It was so amazing. I felt like this is like dream, or I felt like in some beautiful movie.
In Guizhou province that we were, there were mountains, and I really liked the feel of the nature and the system that they have. For example, Monkey Mountain for me was interested because I had to film the animal that I only seen from TV or in the films or nature films before, but now I seen in person and I have to capture with my camera, and that wasn't easy as I thought. Actually, it's changed understanding how people who do documentaries of nature, how they approach their work and how they do their stuff.
In China, I made a documentary about apartment building. The film is called Bird's Nest. The hardest part about China was the language, because I didn't understand anything. First, it was hard to get contact and to know people, because in my documentary I had to know the people who I was making film about. I tried to be like a fly in the wall, so I was like watching what people normally do, and sat next to them and just watched, didn't film. And on the third day I took my camera out, so I got to film them, and they were used to me, so I got really close.
Thing that I experienced in China was the generosity of the people. Since I really got friendly with my film's protagonist, and he felt so honored about this project that he decided to make this big dinner for us, where he really performed, made some traditional foods. At that point, I'm still shocked that it was such an experience to be with one of the Chinese greatest artists, and he makes us an honorary dinner because he enjoyed the project so much. I was very amazed.
I didn't know immediately what my movie was going to be about before I met him, but as soon as I met him, I knew that it had to be centered around how kite making has made him a healthier person, a happier person. He told me a story about when he was 30 years ago, he got diagnosed with cancer, but he did not go through any treatment. He just continued with his crafts, and he's still healthy and still a happy person, and that inspired me really much.
My documentary in China was called Taste. It was about tofu and what it means for Chinese culture, and their tofu is like one of the staple foods of China, and more specifically Guizhou tofu, which has been made like centuries the same way, so I documented that. So for me, like the chance to meet those people and to have that contact and to hear them talk so passionately about the work they do and why they're doing it and what they love about it was like a really heartwarming feeling.
The best part about the Looking China project was the last night that we did the karaoke bar night, that the whole group got together and we sang some songs and everybody had fun, and in the morning, unfortunately, we had to go our separate ways and go home.
While living in China for a few weeks, I also really enjoyed how much the people are connected to nature and seasons, and I thought this was really beautiful, and I have tried to also appreciate nature and seasons and life changes a lot more after this experience.
Immediately after coming back, I started to think about all the people I met there, and I just appreciated the experience that I was able to see the people there, and I think that's what I thought about later on as well, that it was just a really positive experience.
I definitely missed like the moments of adventure that everything is like foreign to you, and you don't know exactly where you're going, for how long you're going, and what's going to happen next. And I guess that's the beauty of it eventually, that I tend to miss. So yeah.
I really wish I could show our country to these people who were helping me to make this documentary happen.